Welcome to another episode of Game Boy Roulette, where we take a look at randomly chosen games from the Game Boy library. The real Ghostbusters. You know, as opposed to all those damn fake Ghostbusters. What can you say about Ghostbusters? It was an all-time classic movie, sparking a franchise that spanned sequels, remakes, toys, and of course, video games. Heck, just this week they announced the next movie in the franchise is coming, and one of the many spin-offs to come from Ghostbusters was a cartoon series called The Real Ghostbusters. It ended up lasting 7 seasons, which is a pretty good run for a cartoon spin-off, and it too had its own line of merchandise, including a video game that we have for you today. The thing about Ghostbusters is that, well, none of their video games were ever that good. The retro games were awkward and difficult, the 2009 game was decent but had a lot of technical issues and a very short length, the 2016 game was an outright disaster, the only good game in the series was a generic platformer for the Genesis. Meanwhile, the real Ghostbusters had only 2 games. Besides the Game Boy game we have today, made by Kemco, there was also an arcade game made by Data East that played more like Smash TV than anything, so we're in totally uncharted waters here because this game isn't even a port. The cover is, oh dear god, is that supposed to be Peter Venkman? He looks like someone drew him with their eyes closed, and I'm really hoping that's not supposed to be Slimer because it kinda looks like a Dr. Seuss fever dream. So, how did the franchise fare shrunk down to the Game Boy? Remember not to cross the streams as we check out the real Ghostbusters. Trademark of Sony Pictures of Sony Pictures. Oh, the real Ghostbusters. Oh. It's the actual Ghostbusters theme. And it sounds pretty good. For Game Boy, anyway. I like this. The ghost looks a little off, but it's not a big deal. Dude, I could just groove on this for a while. Fine, let's play. Go. Hello. I remember this happening. Actually, I haven't seen real Ghostbusters, so it might have happened. This is all a cutscene, by the way. What? This is like a tutorial cutscene. That's kind of neat. So, destroy things to find things. Whoa, what was that? Okay, so there's my proton pack. I can jump. Ooh, the animation's a little choppy. Over there is the Wario door, of course. What? Hey, why is what? But it's a ghost. Bomb. Oh god. Was this a mistake? No, it was not. Key. Oh, I see. And this is a different color so I can destroy it. This is not what I was expecting. Oh, what? No, it's a teleporter. It's like a weird arcade puzzle game. Not quite what I was expecting, but I guess I don't really know what I was expecting from the real Ghostbusters, the video game. I think I'm supposed to be Peter Venkman. Oh god. World's largest chin ass. These are kind of cute. Stage 2. Well, there goes the Ghostbusters theme. Oh, they come back after a bit. Okay. No. What am I standing on? Okay. So far, not bad. Where are we right now? Oh, God. Dude, I'm trying to decide where we are. Like, oh, that hurts. I was expecting it to be more like sucking up ghosts. Instead, you're blowing them up with bombs. Whoa. That's neat. Why am I having a very weird sense of deja vu suddenly? Okay, I think I might be going insane, but suddenly I feel like I've played this before. Not for Game Boy Roulette, but just in general. Oh, Ghostbusters theme is back. It might just be because it's a generic puzzle game, but something about this seems familiar. Am I crazy? What? Oh god, my head. The music's okay, and the game is so far okay. Not anything I'd, write home about or anything, but again, the sense of deja vu is freaky. Let's head down to the Wario door. Okay, before we continue, I need to look something up. Something about this game. Is this like a reskin or something? There's a dedicated give up button. Hang on, I gotta look this up. Research break. The Real Ghostbusters was the third of 3 games released by Kemco based on the same gameplay. The other 2 being Garfield Labyrinth and Mickey Mouse 4 Labyrinth. The games are part of the Crazy Castle series? Oh, no wonder. Oh my god, that's why it seems familiar. It's based on the Crazy Castle series. Okay, if you don't know about it, Crazy Castle was a series of like 100 games that had mostly like Bugs Bunny in them. Hang on, how many Crazy Castle games were there? In Japan, Roger Rabbit, which became Bugs Bunny Crazy Castle. Then there was Mickey Mouse, then Mickey Mouse 2, which became Bugs Bunny Crazy Castle 2. Mickey Mouse 3 became Kid Clown in Nightmare World. Mickey Mouse 4 became The Real Ghostbusters, but that also became Garfield Labyrinth in the PAL region. What? God, no wonder this game seems familiar. It's part of a series that's been going so long that they just slapped Ghostbusters onto it. That's insane. It went on to be about like Woody Woodpecker at some point too. Oh god, okay, so I'm not crazy. Based on this, anyway. That explains everything. Why the gameplay feels familiar, why it kind of feels like a game that they just slapped Ghostbusters onto. Because that's exactly what it is. And I'm not trying to say it's bad. The game's fine, I suppose. But that's because it's part of a formula that it was worked to death with all sorts of franchises. And we destroyed this, and now we did it! So good at this. I'm so good at Woody Woodpecker presents Mickey Mouse presents... Oh god, what else was it? Bugs Bunny, Garfield... I will admit the Ghostbusters theme is getting a little annoying, but at least it's a good version of it. The key. Ah! There was no way to avoid that, you jerks. Lines. Where am I? Meanwhile, in Egypt... Like, I don't even know what the monster designs in this game are based on anything from Real Ghostbusters, but I'm assuming not. I'm assuming they just took whatever sprites were handy from, the other Crazy Castle games. We made it. Oh no! Right into the fire. Yeah, that was just a witch. I don't think they ever fought a witch in Real Ghostbusters. Did they ever fight a real witch? But the game is fine. Good music, decent graphics, decent gameplay. The only thing wrong with it is that it's just a game they slapped Ghostbusters onto. But then again, if you look what they did with Crazy Castle, it's kind of what they continuously did. A Ghostbusters game that's not only decent, but has ties to about 10 other franchises? Now there's something you don't see every day. When we just look at the gameplay, Real Ghostbusters was fine. There are some nitpicks, a little shakiness in the graphics, some minor issues when it comes to destroying blocks, and a few times where it seemed impossible to avoid taking damage. But other than that, it was a solidly made action puzzle game. The levels seem to be going through a nice difficulty curve and introducing more elements, and it goes on for 40 levels, giving it a nice length for that genre. Maybe not anything amazing, but good enough to be a decent Game Boy Library edition. But what makes this game all the more interesting is the story behind it. This isn't even a Ghostbusters game, really, it's a Crazy Castle game. The franchise had Garfield and Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse and Woody Woodpecker and Kid Clown, and somehow managed to get Ghostbusters involved as well. In fact, depending on the region you played it in, this game had entirely different protagonists, which does explain why nothing about it really feels Ghostbusters-y. It was never made as a Ghostbusters game, more as a generic game to slot whatever characters you want into it. Generic doesn't mean bad, though, and as it stands, The Real Ghostbusters is a fine game. It's just significantly less interesting than the story that surrounds it. I still have to wonder, why did Crazy Castle go with The Real Ghostbusters? I'm guessing it's just because Inspector Gadget stopped taking their calls. And that's all for another episode of Game Boy Roulette. Make sure to subscribe so you can follow the series as we continue to dig through the Game Boy Vault. I'm BrianJ, and I'll see you next time.